All right, welcome back everyone. Today's class is going to be another daily CARs mobility routine video. It's about time I put out an updated version for you guys, so that will be the purpose of today's video. It's going to be a little bit more challenging than the one that I've had posted up for quite a while now. So with that being said, with every single exercise in this video, what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to put links in the description for dedicated videos for every exercise that I cover, so that if you struggle with any of the exercises in today's video, you can then check the link in the description on YouTube, go to that particular tutorial, and then work on that particular exercise where I explain it in detail and go through it at a much slower pace than I'm going to be covering in today's class. Today's class is going to be a little bit faster pace. You're just going to kind of be flowing from one exercise to the next. There won't be a ton of explanation, because if I were to do that for every single exercise in this video would be about an hour and a half long, and you probably don't want a routine that long. So what you will need, if you have accessible to you, you technically don't need anything, but if you have something like a medicine ball or a pillow or a cushion, have it handy. Again, you don't need it. I can show you how you can totally get by without it. If you have a yoga block, have it handy as well. Again, you don't need it at all, but if you have one, just have it handy. If you have a stick, broomstick, mop, hockey stick, golf club, anything like that, have it handy. Once again, you won't need it. I'll walk you through how you can get by without it. And this box, I'm actually just going to be using as a wall. So if you have a wall accessible to you, great. If you don't, once again, I'll show you how you can get by without it. So you don't need any of these things, but if you have them handy, please grab them right now. We're going to get right into it. We're going to work from head to toe, starting with our neck. Take your hands, and I'm going to place them underneath my bottom. So if you are comfortable in kneeling, if you don't have knee, ankle, hip, anything issues that prevent you from being in a kneeling position, you can join me here. Or you can do this seated in a chair if you do have issues, or you just prefer that option. Technically, this one's actually a little easier to do in a chair, so you can anchor your hands a little easier, but kneeling works fine for me as well. The purpose of basically sitting on your hands like this is that I'm going to try and depress my shoulder blades to create as much space between my ears and my shoulder as I can. One, so that I can't cheat with my shoulder blades when I do this, and two, to get a better stretch as we go through this. So shoulders are going to stay anchored. You're going to sit up nice and tall. We're going to start with our chin. We're going to bring our chin into our chest. When you can't go any further, you're going to rotate and sweep your chin across your right collarbone until you literally can't rotate anymore. You'll pull your right ear over your shoulder. You'll look up towards the ceiling as you swing your chin all the way around to the left side until you can't rotate that way anymore. Chin will come down to your left collarbone and then back to midline. Then you'll reverse. You'll rotate to the left, sweeping your chin across your left collarbone. Left ear will drop over the left shoulder. You'll be looking up towards the ceiling as you swing your chin back around to the right side of the room. Chin will come down to your right collarbone again, and you'll sweep it back across to the middle. Then you'll reverse, go right back to the right for round two. Right ear over the right shoulder, looking up as high as you can, full extension as you rotate all the way to the left. Chin will come down to the left collarbone. You'll come back to midline, and then reverse back to the left. Left ear over left shoulder, rotating back around to the right side. Chin comes to the right collarbone, and then coming back to midline. Now one more time, rotating right. Right ear over right shoulder, rotating over to the left side. Shoulder blades staying away from the ears. Chin comes down to the left collarbone. Sweep it back across, and then one last time back to the left. So once again, if you have never done neck CARs before, make sure you check the link in the description to learn exactly how to do these in detail, so you can feel confident that you're doing them properly. Now from there, we're going to grab our ball, pillowcase, or cushion. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap your arms around it. So I like having these nice balls because I can get a nice big stretch between my shoulder blades, but a pillow or something like that would work just fine. Or you can just cross your arms over your chest, and that's fine too. So just make an X with your arms. We're going to come up into tall kneeling. So we're going to go up onto our knees. And then what's going to happen here is we are going to leave our neck. Our neck already had its turn. It's just going to come along for the ride here. You're going to think about wrapping yourself around that object, or trying to round your upper back one piece at a time, going into full thoracic flexion, kind of like you're doing a crunch. When you can't go forward anymore, you're going to rotate to the right side, but don't let your left hip come with it. So try and keep it all in the spine. Keep your pelvis pointed straight ahead. Dip your right shoulder down to your right hip. And then you're going to point your chest up towards the ceiling as you rotate all the way over to the left side of the room until you can't rotate left anymore. You're going to dip that left shoulder down to the left hip, and you're going to curl your way back around in front. And then you're going to reverse. You're going to rotate left as far as you can. Dip that left shoulder down. You're going to extend, chest up towards the ceiling. You're going to rotate to the right side. Dip that right shoulder down. Curl your way back through flexion. Come back to midline, and then go right back to the right side. So rotate, dip that right shoulder down, pull your chest up towards the ceiling. Try not to just let it all come from the low back. Really try and think about lifting your chest. Dip that left shoulder down, curl your way back around in front into flexion, and then reverse back to the left. Again, try not to let your pelvis go along for the ride or your hips go along for the ride. Try your best to isolate it to your thoracic spine. Rotate right, dip on the right, come back through flexion. Now we're back at home base. We're going to do one more each way. So rotate right as far as you can, dip that right shoulder down, make your way up into extension, rotate left, dip down to the left, curl your way back through. One last time to the left. And just like I said earlier, if as you're doing this, you're like, oh man, this is really hard. I'm not sure if I'm doing this properly, etc., etc. Any questions of doubt, check the link in the description. Go to the video dedicated to breaking down this particular exercise and follow along with that. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put our ball to the side. We won't need that anymore. You're going to grab your stick, and we're going to go through flexing and extending our spine from our head right down to our tailbone, one piece at a time. Once again, if you are comfortable in kneeling, please join me in kneeling. If you have knee, ankle, anything issues that keep you from being in this position, your first option would be to just take your yoga block, have a seat on your yoga block to relieve any pressure in the lower extremities, or you can come up and you can do this exact same exercise seated in a chair. Alternatively, you could do the exact same exercise on all fours. I will link videos for both in the description just to help you guys out. Now we're going to start, if you're in kneeling, if not seated in a chair or just on your hands and knees. Hands will be in front of you around shoulder height, and we're going to start with our neck here. So making sure that our shoulders aren't in front of our hips or behind our hips, we stay stacked. You're going to give yourself a double chin. You're going to pull your chin down into your chest, and then you're going to start to send your collarbones back and your sternum back as you round your upper back, going through your upper spine, flexing, and then making your way down into your low back. And when you get to your low back, you're going to think about tucking your tailbone underneath you, and you're going to feel your sit bones slide forward on your heels or on your chair if you're seated or kneeling. Then we're going to reverse. We're going to pull those sit bones back. You're going to tip your pelvis forward, and you're going to start to try and find those little muscles that live on either side of your spine that pull you into extension. Now, as you make your way into your upper back, visualize a string attached to your chest, pulling it up towards the ceiling, a string attached to your collarbones, pulling it up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to end by looking up in the air as high as you possibly can, and then we're going to reverse with the neck again. So chin's going to come back down into the chest, but don't let anything else move. Collarbones are going to go back, sternum's going to go back. You're going to start to round the upper back, making your way through. Try not to let your shoulders end up in your ears, and then when you get to your low back, tailbone's going to scoop underneath you. Sit bones will scoop underneath you. Now you're going to stay in flexion here. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Don't let your low back or upper back move, but unlock your chin for me and look as high as you possibly can up towards the ceiling and as far behind you as you can without moving your upper back. Then visualize a string attached to your collarbones. Pull your collarbones up towards the ceiling. Then pull your sternum up towards the ceiling. And you're going to try and pull your way from the top down into extension, ending with the tailbone and those sit bones sliding back underneath you. Now staying here, find the furthest point behind you that you can contact with your eyes. Try not to lose contact with that point. You're going to draw your tailbone back underneath you as you round the low back, trying not to lose contact with that point on the ceiling with your neck. You're going to round your upper back. Once your upper back is fully flexed again, it's going to get really hard to stay looking up, and then we're going to unlock that chin and we're going to bring it back down. into the chest. So with that, in a perfect world, you would be able to go both from the bottom up and from the top down through both flexion and extension. So try and practice both and get good at both. Now we're going to move on to the shoulder blades here. What's going to happen with the shoulder blades is you're going to take your hands, you're going to place them behind you on your low back like this. Now if this position right here is difficult for you, or doing this exercise in this position is difficult for you, if you're in my subscription, go to the joint specific classes section, go down to the shoulder classes, and then go to the internal rotation classes, and you'll find a whole host of classes that will help you improve internal rotation. If you have shoulder or a shoulder injury, just make sure you go get assessed, okay? Hands on the low back here if you can. If this position is too difficult or this exercise is too uncomfortable for you, just place your hands at your side like this, and you can do the exercise here. Once again, if you're on YouTube, you'll find a link in the description. With your hands on the low back, what you're gonna do is elevate your shoulders to your ears, but don't let your hands go with you. So keep your hands right where they are. Shoulder blades will move, but hands will not. Hands will stay still. Shoulder blades are gonna go forward as far as you can. They're gonna glide down as far as you can, and then they're gonna squeeze back. You will notice your elbows go back with them. That's okay. Keep them back, slide them up. Keep them up, slide them forward as far as you can. Keep them forward, slide them down. Keep them down, bring them back. Glide back up, forward, all the way down, all the way back. One more time, all the way up, all the way forward, all the way back down, all the way back. Now glide them up one more time, stay there, and then bring them right back down, keeping them back. And then bring them forward, and then stay forward, elevate, stay elevated, bring them back, stay back, glide them down, and then two more in that direction. Forward, up, back, down. Now really try and smooth it out here, all the way forward, all the way up, all the way back, all the way back down. Now we're gonna move on to shoulders, so you can just shake your arms out for a second, and then you're gonna take your right hand, you're gonna place it back where it was on your low back. I just had to question myself about which way I wanna do this. Hand on the low back with the right side, hand behind your head on the left side. Now I'm just gonna give you a side view for the first rep here. What's gonna happen, and you can just follow along, you're gonna drive your elbows back as far as you can. Then you're gonna lift your hands off of your head and off of your low back. Then you're gonna extend your elbows, nothing else moves. Once they're fully straight, you're gonna rotate, right arm's gonna come up, left arm's gonna go down. You're gonna find that diagonal line facing the other way. Then you're gonna hinge at the elbows, get the hand behind the low back, behind the head, try not to touch it yet, then lower your hands to your spine, to your head, and relax the shoulders. Now from a front view, what that will look like, continue on, shoulder blades back, elbows back, hands are gonna lift off. You're gonna extend, nothing moves except the elbows. Then we're gonna rotate and switch. We're gonna find that same diagonal line facing the other way. Then we're gonna hinge, we're gonna bring it back in, then lower the hands to the spine, relax the shoulders. That was one rep. Shoulder blades back, elbows back, then hands lift off, extend, rotate and switch. Find that same diagonal line facing the other way. Bend at the elbows, then lower the hands to the spine, relax the shoulders, then drive the shoulders back, elbows back, hands will lift off, extend, rotate and switch. Now as you do this, keep your arms as far behind you as you can throughout the entire exercise. I'm going to throw one more cue at you. Hands will come in, relax. Now same thing here. Shoulder blades back, elbows back, hands lift off, extend, keep reaching as far back behind you as you can as you switch, going back the other way, hinging at the elbows, then bringing the hands into the spine, relaxing. Now you've got one more here. Shoulder blades back, elbows back, hands lift off, extend, find that diagonal line, keep reaching back behind you, switch, find that diagonal line facing the other way, hinge at the elbows, bring them back into the spine, and relax. Okay, once again, if you struggled with that, if that was a difficult exercise or it was moving really quickly for you, hit the link in the description. You'll find a video breaking that exact exercise down. Now we're gonna move on to the elbows, and before I do so, what I should say is for this elbow exercise, even though you won't be able to see your elbow, I want you to really, really focus on trying to rotate around your pinky, not letting your pinky start in one position and end in another. So my pinky was here and now it's over there from rotating. I want you to try and rotate around your pinky with this particular exercise. And the way that we're gonna do it, once again, if you're comfortable in kneeling, you can be in kneeling. If you're not, you can do this in standing. You could do this seated in a chair, whatever's comfortable for you. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive your elbows back as far as you can. So shoulder blades will be squeezed back, elbows will be back as high as you can get them. You're gonna try and keep your elbow, your upper arm in that position the whole time so that it's only your lower arm moving. Palms are gonna come in facing you, elbows fully bent. You're gonna rotate around your pinky. You're gonna press away. You're gonna rotate, bring it back in. Rotate, press, rotate, bring it back in. One more time. Rotate, extend, rotate, bend. Now you're gonna stay this way, go right back out. Rotate the other way at the back, and then bend. Rotate, extend, upper arm stays in the same position the whole time. Rotate, bend, rotate, extend, and rotate, and bend. So that biased a lot more backside stuff. Now when we do our wrists, we're gonna bias front side stuff. It's a little bit more bicep, a little bit more front of the shoulder. Now I need you to monitor two things for me in this exercise. Monitor your elbow pit, monitor the veins on your wrist. Both of those should be pointed straight up the entire time. If you lose the veins on your wrists and they start to rotate, that means you're cheating, you're using your elbow. Your elbow just had its turn. It's now the wrist's turn. If you start to see your elbow pit moving all over the place, that means you're using your shoulder. Once again, it already had its turn. I want you to really try and isolate this to the wrist. So arms are gonna come up. You're gonna extend your wrists as far as you can. You're gonna bring your pinkies in towards midline, and then we're gonna come all the way up into flexion. You're gonna drop the thumbs to the outside, and then you're gonna come all the way back down into extension. Pinkies come in, wrists come up into flexion, thumbs drop to the outside, wrist goes back down into extension. One more time in that direction. And then as we come back down into extension, you're gonna go the other way. So thumbs to the outside, wrists come up into flexion, back down, and around. So once again, the whole time you're doing this, you're watching your elbow pits, you're watching those veins on your wrist, and you're trying to make sure that both of those stay pointed straight up towards the ceiling as best you can the entire time. You're gonna notice the front of your arms working a little bit more here. Like I said, this one's a little bit more challenging than the first version that I had, and that's okay. Come back down, and there we go. Now that's it for our upper body. Moving on to the lower body, we are gonna start with the hip. If you have your yoga block, it's gonna go underneath your left knee in front of your wall. So what's gonna happen is if you wanna do this in half kneeling, you'll join me in this position here, one knee elevated up on the block, the other leg out in front. We're gonna do our hip CARs in this position. If this position's uncomfortable for you or it's too challenging for you, just come up, do the exact same exercise in standing, put your hand on a counter, grab a pole, do whatever works for you for stability. Once again, you'll find links in the description if you're on YouTube. Now, once we're in this half kneeling position, give me a little push with your hands into your wall to get your sternum to move away from it, and exhale fully. At the end of that exhale, you should feel your obliques engage. Resume normal breathing, but try not to lose your obliques. It's gonna help you control your low back as you go through this so that you can isolate your hip. Okay, now once we're there, we're gonna bring our thigh up towards our chest. You're gonna open your knee up to the side, but don't let your belly button go along for the ride. You're gonna internally rotate, you're gonna reach back behind you, then you're gonna pull that knee back down under, come back through, and then you're gonna reverse, you're gonna go back the other way. Back into extension, open back up, come back through to where you started, back to home base, back down. If you wanna reset, you can. Full exhale, little press, knee comes up, open up to the side, rotate, reach back, knee comes back down and under, and reverse, right back through into extension, open up to the side, come back around in front, lower back down, big breath, knee up, knee goes out, don't let the pelvis go with it, pelvis stays pointed straight ahead the entire time, come back down, back through, and then right back into extension, open back up to the side, and bring it back around. Now we'll switch. We'll move our block over to the other leg and do the exact same thing on the other side. And then just like I said before, if this exercise is totally new for you, check the links in the description and you can learn this one at a slower pace. Same thing here, little press, good exhale. And then we're gonna bring that knee up. We're gonna open up to the side. You're gonna rotate, reach back behind you, pull that leg down and under, and then reverse, right back into its extension, open up to the side, rotate through, bring it back around, leg lowers down. Flex that hip, open up, internally rotate, reach back, leg comes back down, back through, and reverse, open up, and bring it back through. Again, if you need to reset, you can. Little press, leg's gonna come up, open out to the side, rotate, reach back, come back down, and then reverse, back through extension, and all the way back around. Now, we'll get off our yoga block. Keep it handy though. We are gonna come back to it and use it when we do our ankle stuff. For now, we're gonna revert to a little bit of an easier one here. You're gonna be laying on your back. Opposite leg's gonna be straight. Right leg is gonna come up into flexion. Now you could bring that all the way into hip flexion, or you could hang out around 90 degrees. You could make it active and not use your hands, or you can make it a little easier and use your hands. I'm fine with whatever you wanna do. You can choose your own adventure here. I do want you to visualize a lane whereby you keep your hip, your knee, and your ankle in that lane without letting your foot swing out or in, either way. So stay in that lane the whole time. Your shin should be rotating, but not swinging all over the place. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna rotate your shin outwards such that your toes point out, and then you're gonna extend. You will not be able to fully extend your knee, and that's okay. You're gonna rotate in, you're gonna bring it back down. So rotate your shin out, extend, rotate your shin in, bring it back down. Try not to focus on your toes, because if you do that, you're gonna be getting a lot of this from your ankle. Think about rotating from your shin or from your knee. Now from here, we're gonna stay rotated in. We're gonna go right back out. We're gonna rotate out and then bend that knee. Rotate in, straighten the knee, rotate out, bend the knee. Now, just like with the elbow, when you're going through these, try not to let your thigh bone move. So your shin bone will move, but you don't want to see your thigh bone moving as we go through this. Now we're going to switch to the other side. So what that would look like if your thigh bone was moving is that you'd be doing this and then your thigh bone would be bending and straightening, coming towards and away from you. You're going to try and keep that fixed. So from here, we're going to rotate our shin bone outwards. We're going to straighten the knee, thigh bone won't move. You're going to rotate in, you're going to bend the knee. Like I said, you will not be able to fully straighten your knee. That is by design, because if you fully straighten it, you will lock it and then you won't get that rotation, and we want the rotation for this exercise. Extend, rotate in, bend. Now stay pointed in. You're going to go right back out into extension. You're going to rotate out at the top, and then you're going to bring it back in. Staying in that imaginary lane the entire time. Rotate out, bring it back in one more time, rotate in, extend, rotate out, and bend. Now moving on to the ankle, what we're going to do is we're going to hit our ankle CARs with our block underneath our lower legs, underneath your calf or wherever's comfortable for you. And what's going to happen when we do these is if you can sit upright enough to get your finger on your kneecap, that would be great. So you can use either hand. I don't really care, but I don't want your kneecap pointed out, or pointed in. So if your kneecap is moving on you, that means you're moving your hip already had its turn, your knee already had its turn, and you'll keep that from cheating and helping by just keeping your knee totally straight and squeezing your quad. So by keeping your knee straight and monitoring your kneecap, you help ensure that you minimize movement at those two joints and you maximize movement at your ankle, which is what we want. So fingers on the kneecap, knee totally straight, give me your very best ballerina impression, and then rotate your foot such that the inside of your foot points to the left side of the room. Then flex your foot coming all the way up into dorsiflexion, then rotate out so that the inside of your foot, or sorry, the bottom of your foot faces the outside of the room, and then you're gonna point back down. Rotate that ankle in, don't let your kneecap move, flex up, rotate your foot out, point back down, best ballerina impression you can, rotate in, flex up, rotate out, point back down, keeping that knee straight. Now we're gonna go the other way. You're gonna rotate out, then you're gonna flex it up, you're gonna rotate it in, you're gonna point it back down. So rotate that foot out, flex up, rotate it in, point it back down. Give me one more here, rotate out, bring it up, rotate in, point back down, knee stays straight. And then we'll switch, we'll go over to the other leg. Again, I don't really care what you do with the leg that isn't working. Place your fingers on your kneecap, make sure that kneecap does not move. Give me your very best ballerina impression. Try and get the inside of your foot facing the right side of the room. Flex up, rotate out, and then point back down. So once again, by keeping your knee totally straight and making sure your kneecap isn't moving, you minimize your ability to actually use your knee or your hip for this, which helps us isolate the ankle. Then the only other things that are really free to move are your toes. Quick pause here, we're gonna go back the other way, so rotate out and point up. And you may notice your toes wanting to do really goofy things when you go through this, if this is a new thing for you, if you've never done these before. Again, that will get better with time. Try your best to minimize toe movement, so try and keep your toes as quiet as you can, but just know that it's really hard to do in the beginning phases, so don't get down on yourself if you're struggling with it. Rotate in, point back down. Now you're just gonna grab your block. If you have access to this position here, you can sit on your block and join me in a bit of a deep squat. If you don't have access to this position, you can just do this sitting on your bum, or you can just do this up and standing. I'm fine with either one, but I know so many of you have messaged me saying that these are hard for you, and the nice thing about this is you can just be right in your toes and have them close to you as we go through it. First thing we're gonna do is you're gonna lift your big toes up as high as you can without letting your outer four toes lift with them. Place it back down, lift that big toe back up, place it back down, and then lift that big toe back up again, place it back down. This time your big toe is going to stay down. You're going to lift your outer four toes up. Place them back down. Outer four toes up, big toe stays down. And then one more time, outer four toes up, place them back down. Now we're going to lift all your toes up, spread them apart as far as you can, and you're going to place them down on the ground one toe at a time, ending with the big toe. And then you're going to peel them back off the ground one toe at a time, starting with the big toe. Try to keep equal contact through your full foot, the inside and the outside of your foot the whole time. Spread your toes, place them down one toe at a time. Try to keep space between all your toes as well when you place them down, and then peel them back off one toe at a time as well. One more time, spread them apart, place them down one toe at a time, and then you'll peel them back off one toe at a time. Now, if those were really hard for you, again, don't get discouraged. It's hard for a lot of people. Wearing shoes and socks all day, we don't pay a ton of attention to our feet. They don't get as much sensory information, and so they can get difficult to control like that, but you can gain that back. And so if you're on YouTube, again, go to my playlist, go to toes, and you will find beginner and advanced videos walking you through a step-by-step process of how you can relearn how to do things like that with your toes. If you're in my subscription, just go to the toes section. You guys will find classes, videos, etc. in there as well. Now that's it for this mobility routine. If you guys have any questions, as always, do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you so, so much for every single one of you that has ever left me a message, a comment, or a DM. I truly appreciate all of those things. Let me know how your body's feeling after doing this. Otherwise, take care, and I will see you in the next video.